Alex Harper sat in the pilot's chair of his small interstellar craft, eyes fixed on the swirling colors of the Zephyra atmosphere below. The planet was nothing like Earth. Its skies glowed with streaks of green and violet, clouds floating in, impossible shapes, and the ground seemed to shimmer from space. The distress signal had been clear, urgent, and desperate. Zephyra was under attack, and they had asked for help from humanity, which was rare. Humans rarely got involved in galactic affairs, but Alex had volunteered because he knew some missions were too dangerous for ordinary soldiers. He had survived countless impossible situations on Earth, from collapsed cities to extreme environments, and the thought of facing alien worlds no longer scared him. The ship shuddered as it passed through Zephyra's upper atmosphere, and alarms blinked, signaling minor turbulence. Alex adjusted the controls, his hand steady. He had trained for situations like this for years, but even he could feel the weight of the unknown. No human had ever set foot on Zephyra before. Rumors said the human warrior was only a myth here. Stories whispered among aliens of a being capable of feats no ordinary species could achieve. Alex didn't know about the rumors, but he would soon find out just how much attention he was attracting. As the ship descended, massive floating islands appeared, hovering above cities built on glowing platforms. The alien structures were tall, crystalline, and elegant, their surfaces shimmering as if alive. Below, the streets bustled with creatures of all shapes, wings flaring and limbs bending in ways humans could not. Alex's eyes scanned for hostile activity, but for now there was only curiosity. Small alien patrols flew toward the landing zone, their armored suits glinting. They approached cautiously, unsure what this human might be capable of. When Alex's ship landed, the atmosphere was tense. The aliens moved slowly at first, observing him. One of them stepped forward, a tall figure with dark, iridescent skin, eyes reflecting faint lights from the city. "You are the human they spoke of?" it asked in a voice that seemed to vibrate in the air. Alex nodded slightly, not breaking eye contact. He stepped out of the ship, his boots touching the alien surface, and the ground seemed firm but oddly warm beneath him. Whispers spread among the gathered aliens, and some took a step back. Even without saying a word, Alex could feel the curiosity and fear radiating from them. A sudden noise behind him made him turn sharply, and a small creature leaped from the shadows. It had 4 legs, a long tail, and claws that scraped against the platform. It moved faster than he expected, aiming for the alien patrol. Alex reacted instinctively, grabbing a nearby control rod from the ship and swinging it with precise force, knocking the creature away without harming it. The aliens gasped. Some whispered to each other in rapid clicks and hums. One of the officers muttered something to the patrol leader, who nodded and approached Alex with cautious respect. "You survive well," the officer said. "Perhaps more than we expected." Alex gave a small smile but said nothing. Actions spoke louder than words, and he had learned that a long time ago. He followed the patrol toward the city, his senses alert. Every shadow could hide danger, every sound might be a trap. He had been trained for unpredictability, and this world seemed to have it in abundance. The city itself was overwhelming. Towers rose high above, made of materials that seemed to shift colors in the light. Streets were crowded with aliens of every type, and strange vehicles floated above the ground, gliding silently. Alex felt a mix of awe and caution. He knew that, to survive here, he would need to earn trust quickly. Rumors about humans were everywhere. They spoke of bravery and unpredictability, but they also whispered of human weakness, a belief Alex intended to challenge. He was led to a massive gate, which opened into what appeared to be a palace of some kind. The architecture was breathtaking. Light refracted off walls in patterns that seemed almost alive, and columns stretched toward the sky, vanishing into thin clouds. Guards flanked every entrance, their eyes fixed on Alex. As he walked through the halls, he could hear faint vibrations in the floor, possibly the energy systems powering the city. The air smelled faintly metallic, with a sharpness that reminded him of a laboratory. It was beautiful but alien in a way that made him feel both small and important at once. At the center of the palace, A throne room opened, vast and circular, filled with light. Sitting on a raised platform was Queen Lyra, ruler of Zephyra. She was tall, more imposing than any alien he had imagined, with eyes that glowed faintly blue and skin that shimmered like polished obsidian. Her presence demanded attention. Alex felt the weight of her gaze but did not flinch. He had faced leaders before, humans and aliens, and knew that fear could not guide him. Respect had to be earned. The queen regarded him silently, her expression unreadable. "So," she said finally, her voice echoing softly through the chamber, "you are the human they claim is legendary." Alex nodded again, keeping his posture calm and confident. He had expected skepticism. He had not expected to feel so scrutinized. Every move, every breath was under her observation. The silence stretched, broken only by the faint hum of energy fields in the walls. Suddenly, an alert sounded in the chamber. Guards shifted and the queen's eyes narrowed. "A test," she muttered. Alex did not move, only waiting for instructions. He knew that on alien worlds, survival often depended on proving oneself immediately. Without hesitation, he followed a small squad of guards out of the chamber into a corridor that led to the outer forests. The vegetation was dense with giant trees that had translucent leaves and flowers glowing faintly. Shadows moved in ways that seemed impossible, and he could hear distant sounds of creatures hunting. The test was simple in explanation but deadly in practice. Retrieve a sample of a rare mineral from the forest while avoiding the native predators. Alex moved with caution but confidence. His instincts told him which paths were safe, which shadows to watch. One by one, he evaded creatures with long limbs and snapping jaws, using agility and quick thinking. He had faced wild animals on Earth, trained in combat and survival. But this was different. Every moment was unpredictable, every sound a potential threat. Yet he pressed on, steady and focused. Hours seemed to pass, though Alex did not stop moving. When he finally reached the mineral, it glowed faintly in his hand, and he realized he had succeeded. The forest seemed to settle, almost as if acknowledging his achievement. He returned to the palace, the mineral in hand, and presented it to the queen. Her eyes widened slightly, and she leaned forward, studying him as if trying to understand how a human could accomplish such a feat. "You survived beyond expectation," Queen Lyra said finally. "Perhaps the legends were not false." Alex nodded, tired but alert. He knew this was only the beginning. If the stories were true, humans were rare and underestimated, and his presence here might change the way Zephyra viewed an entire species. As he walked from the chamber, guards and officials whispered among themselves, their words a mixture of awe and disbelief. Alex could feel their curiosity and suspicion, and he knew it would take more than one feat to convince them fully. Outside, the palace, the city stretched endlessly, and the sky shimmered with unknown lights. Alex took a moment to observe, noting the floating platforms, the flowing rivers of glowing liquid, and the alien creatures moving in harmony. He felt a strange connection to this place, a mixture of challenge and fascination. The planet was alive with danger and beauty, and he knew that his journey had only just begun. Somewhere in the distance, Queen Lyra continued to watch, her mind racing with questions about the human warrior who had arrived unannounced, unafraid, and capable of feats beyond belief. As night fell over Zephyra, Alex prepared for the challenges ahead. The forest, the city, and the mysteries of this alien world would test him in ways he had never imagined. And somewhere in the shadows, creatures stirred, watching, waiting. Alex did not flinch. He had survived worse. The human warrior was here, and Zephyra would soon understand that legends sometimes came to life. Alex Harper followed the alien guards through the sprawling palace corridors. Each hallway was wider than the tallest skyscraper on Earth, and walls glowed faintly, shifting colors as if alive. The light reflected off his suit, making him feel small in comparison to the grandeur of Zephyra. The air carried a strange hum, not unpleasant but deep enough to make his chest vibrate slightly with every step. He had never been anywhere like this before. It was both beautiful and intimidating. But Alex had learned long ago that intimidation was a tool, not a barrier. They led him to a chamber he had not seen before. It opened into a vast arena, circular and open to the sky above. Towering crystal structures surrounded the perimeter, and alien citizens had gathered to watch. Their eyes, glowing softly in hues of green, gold, and violet, followed his every move. Whispers ran through the crowd, some of awe, some of fear. They had heard stories about the human warrior, but seeing one in their midst was something entirely different. Alex felt their curiosity but did not waver. His training taught him that confidence came from action, not words. A gate at the far end of the arena opened and a massive creature stepped through. It had 6 limbs, sharp claws, and wings that stretched wider than a small building. Its scales shimmered like molten metal, and its eyes burned with a yellow intensity. The crowd gasped and moved back, their fear palpable. The guards beside, Alex shifted nervously, but he only tightened his grip on the weapon he had taken from his ship. This was the test. The Queen had said nothing about what he would face, only that he must prove himself. The creature growled, a sound that made the ground vibrate beneath Alex's boots. It lunged forward fast and deadly. Alex sidestepped, using the momentum of his movement to strike at the creature's leg with a precise kick. The creature stumbled but recovered quickly, its claws snapping dangerously close. Alex kept his focus, calculating every move. He had faced predators on Earth, but none like this. It was fast, strong, and clever. Yet he did not panic. Panic had killed too many soldiers before him. Calm and strategy had kept him alive. The fight drew gasps from the crowd. Alex leaped over the creature, rolling on the ground and striking, again. His movements were fluid, almost dancing, as he avoided each attack. The alien guards watched, astonished. They had never seen a human move with such precision and fearlessness. Some began to whisper among themselves, questioning the legends they had been told. Could humans really be this capable? Could a single human survive against a creature that Zephyra's strongest warriors struggled to defeat? After what felt like hours, though in reality it was only minutes, Alex found an opening. He used his full strength to strike a vital point on the creature's chest. It howled, staggering backward before collapsing. The arena fell silent. Then, slowly, the crowd erupted into murmurs of admiration. They had expected failure, but Alex had succeeded. He had survived a trial designed to kill him. He stood, breathing heavily, but his eyes remained sharp and alert. He had learned that respect was not given lightly in alien worlds. It had to be earned. A voice called out from above, smooth and commanding. Queen Lyra descended from her platform, her presence commanding attention even more than the defeated creature. Her eyes glowed softly, studying him. "You survive," she said, her tone carrying a mixture of surprise and curiosity. "You are unlike any human I imagined." Alex nodded, still catching his breath. He did not respond with words, only with steady posture and calm eyes. He had learned long ago that actions spoke louder than words, especially when dealing with beings who judged power above all else. The Queen signaled to her guards, and 2 approached Alex. "You will face another test," she said. "Beyond the city lies a forest of Zephyra's wilds. You must retrieve a sample of the crystal flower that blooms only at night. Many have entered the forest and never returned." Alex did not flinch. He had faced death before, often without knowing if he would survive. He only nodded, ready for the challenge. The Queen's gaze lingered on him, a mixture of doubt and fascination in her eyes. She had expected humans to be fragile, clever at best, but weak in comparison to her warriors. Alex had already challenged that belief. He was escorted to the edge of the forest as night began to fall. The trees were massive, their trunks twisting and glowing faintly, their leaves translucent and shimmering like glass. Strange sounds filled the air, some melodic, some harsh and threatening. Alex moved cautiously, senses alert. Shadows shifted in ways that made him pause, but he remembered his training. Observe, calculate, act. Never panic, never rush. The crystal. Flowers were said to bloom only in the darkest hours, and he would need to find them before being detected by predators. As he ventured deeper, the forest seemed alive. Branches moved without wind, and the ground vibrated subtly under his feet. Small creatures darted between the roots, some harmless, some clearly dangerous. Alex stayed low, moving silently, using his knowledge of predator behavior to avoid confrontation. Yet tension built with every step. He had no allies here, no backup, only his skills and instincts. The thought of failure never crossed his mind, only focus and determination. Hours passed and the forest grew denser. He could hear distant roars of massive beasts hunting, and the faint glow of eyes watching him from the darkness. The crystal flowers began to appear, small clusters of light, shimmering against the dark backdrop. Alex approached carefully, noting patterns in their growth. One misstep could alert a predator or trigger a trap hidden in the forest floor. He moved with patience, crouching, rolling, and leaping over dangerous plants and roots. Suddenly, a predator leaped from above, a creature with multiple limbs and fangs dripping with venom. Alex reacted instantly, grabbing a fallen branch and using it to strike the creature, redirecting it with precise force. He rolled away, recovering quickly, his heart steady. The creature hesitated, then retreated, apparently recognizing his skill. Alex continued, reaching a small clearing where the crystal flowers glowed brightly. He carefully collected samples, securing them in a container designed to preserve them. Success was close, but the forest was not done testing him. As he turned to leave, shadows shifted around him. Multiple predators had surrounded him, their movements silent but deliberate. Alex's mind raced, calculating escape routes, using the environment to his advantage. He climbed a glowing tree, leaping from branch to branch, using agility and timing to evade attacks. Each movement was precise, each breath controlled. The predators were relentless, but Alex was relentless too. Slowly, he maneuvered them into a trap he had spotted earlier, a natural pit that concealed sharp crystalline spikes. The predators fell into it, ending the immediate threat. Exhausted but victorious, Alex emerged from the forest just before dawn. The city gates of Zephyra loomed ahead and guards rushed toward him, eyes wide with disbelief. He presented the crystal flower samples to Queen Lyra herself. She studied them closely, then looked up at him. Her eyes held a mixture of awe, suspicion, and respect. "You have survived where all others have failed," she said softly. "Perhaps the legends were not false. Perhaps humans are more than we imagined." Alex nodded, tired but alert, aware that this was only the beginning. Whispers spread through the palace and the city. Citizens, guards, and advisors discussed the human warrior who had faced the impossible forest and lived. Queen Lyra remained, silent, her mind racing. She had believed humans to be fragile, clever, but weak. Alex Harper had proven her wrong in ways she could not ignore. Somewhere in her mind, she began to consider that humans might change the balance of power on Zephyra entirely. As night fully gave way to morning, Alex prepared for the next steps. He knew that challenges would grow harder, that threats were lurking beyond what he had already faced. Yet he was ready. He had survived Earth's harshest conditions, and now he had survived Zephyra's deadliest tests. The human warrior had arrived, and Zephyra would soon learn that legends sometimes came to life. The city of Zephyra slept uneasily under the glow of distant stars. Alex Harper had returned from the forest with the crystal flowers, and the palace buzzed with whispers of his success. Queen Lyra had not spoken much since his arrival, but her gaze lingered on him, sharp and calculating. He had proven himself capable, yet she remained cautious. The legends had called him a warrior, a myth even. But now the myth was standing before her in flesh and blood. She wanted to see what else he could do, and the universe was about to provide a test far greater than any forest or creature. It began with distant tremors, subtle at first, but enough to rattle the spires of the city. Alarms echoed through the palace as the rogue alien faction made their move. Their ships tore through Zephyra's outer defenses, energy beams splitting the air and shattering buildings. Panic spread among the citizens, their fear palpable. Alex felt the ground tremble. beneath him and saw the flashes of explosions lighting up the alien skyline. This was no test designed by the Queen. It was real war. Without hesitation, he moved toward the gates with the palace guards. His presence alone seemed to rally some of the alien soldiers. They had seen his skill in the forest and the arena, and began to follow his lead without hesitation. The city streets were chaotic. Buildings of crystalline architecture fractured under the onslaught, and civilians screamed as they ran for cover. Alex guided them, moving with precision, knowing that hesitation could cost lives. He dodged debris, leaped over fallen structures, and struck at attackers with lethal efficiency. The rogue faction soldiers were unlike any creatures he had faced before. They were fast, strong, and organized, striking in coordinated waves. Yet Alex had something they did not expect: adaptability. He moved with a combination of speed and strategy, drawing enemies into traps and using the environment to his advantage. One by one, he disabled attackers with non-lethal strikes when possible, conserving energy for the fights that required his full strength. Alien guards began to whisper among themselves, astonished at his methods. In the chaos, Alex noticed a group of civilians trapped beneath the rubble of a collapsing building. Without hesitation, he sprinted forward, lifting massive slabs of alien material with his strength. The citizens were shocked at his abilities. Children clung to each other as Alex cleared a path and led them to safety, his mind already calculating the next move. The rogue faction advanced relentlessly, their leader a shadow in the distance, directing attacks with precision. Alex knew that defeating them would require more than strength. It would require cleverness, intuition, and courage. Queen Lyra observed from her command tower, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. She had expected her city to hold against most threats, yet this faction was powerful. Seeing Alex move through the battlefield, coordinating defense and striking with speed beyond comprehension, she began to understand that the human warrior was not a myth. His presence changed everything. Alien soldiers started following his commands instinctively, trusting the human in ways they had never trusted any other species. Hours passed in relentless combat. The rogue faction pressed forward, their ships and soldiers overwhelming the city defenses. Alex moved through streets that had been turned into battle zones, guiding squads of aliens, dodging attacks, and countering with precision. He noticed the patterns in the rogue faction's movements, predicting their strikes and using misdirection to create openings. Explosions sent shards of crystal flying, yet Alex remained calm, focused on the task. Every life he saved reinforced his reputation. Every enemy he defeated made the whispers of a human warrior grow louder among Zephyra's citizens. A sudden explosion near the palace shook the command tower. Queen Lyra's advisors panicked, but she remained focused on Alex. She watched as he leapt from one floating platform to another, his movements precise despite the chaos. The rogue faction had sent a specialized unit to eliminate him, recognizing that if the human warrior fell, Zephyra might collapse. Yet Alex's instincts and training allowed him to anticipate their moves, turning what seemed like death traps into opportunities to strike. His presence was more than inspiring. It was transformational. One of the rogue leaders, massive and armored, finally engaged Alex directly. Their fight was brutal and cinematic. The armored alien struck with brute force, each blow capable of crushing a normal being. Alex dodged, countered, and used clever leverage to turn the enemy's strength against him. Sparks flew as weapons clashed, and the sounds of battle echoed through the city. The citizens watched from afar, some in awe, some in terror, as the human warrior held his own against a creature of legend. Meanwhile, the rogue faction continued to push the city into chaos. Alex realized that defeating the armored leader alone would not end the attack. He coordinated with alien soldiers, signaling movements, creating diversions, and targeting weak points in the enemy lines. The battle became a dance of strategy, courage, and precision. The Queen could not take her eyes off him, witnessing firsthand how a single human could influence the outcome of a massive conflict. The armored leader attempted one final strike, a move meant to end Alex quickly. Alex anticipated it, sidestepped, and countered with a swift strike to the armor's weak joint. The enemy fell, unable to continue the fight. Cheers erupted among the alien soldiers, their morale soaring. Yet Alex did not pause. He scanned the battlefield, directing others, ensuring that every enemy soldier was neutralized and every civilian reached safety. His endurance, skill, and leadership had turned the tide of the battle. As the dust settled, the city bore scars of war. Buildings were damaged, streets littered with debris, yet the citizens survived. Alex stood amidst the chaos, breathing heavily but alert, surveying the scene. Queen Lyra descended to the battlefield, her expression a mix of awe, relief, and deep curiosity. She had witnessed something extraordinary. The human warrior was not just skilled, he was resilient, adaptable, and fearless. She realized that her assumptions about humans had been wrong. They were more than a myth, more than a simple species. They were capable of feats that could challenge even the most advanced civilizations. Alex approached the queen, still alert for any remaining threats. She studied him closely, her gaze lingering on his calm demeanor despite the chaos around him. "You have done what we could not imagine," she said softly. "You have turned the tide where we thought all was lost." Alex nodded, respecting her authority but remaining humble. He had survived countless battles on Earth, yet here, on Zephyra, he felt the weight of his actions differently. The lives he had saved, the city he had protected, and the aliens who now saw humans in a new light. It all mattered. In the aftermath, Zephyra's citizens began to whisper not just about the human warrior's strength, but about his courage and strategy. They spoke of his calm in chaos, his precision in battle, and his ability to inspire loyalty and trust in beings far different from him. Queen Lyra watched quietly, contemplating what this meant for her city and her people. The legends of the human warrior had been true, and their implications were profound. As night fell again over Zephyra, Alex walked through the streets, observing the citizens beginning to rebuild and reclaim their city. The rogue faction had been driven back, but their presence reminded him that this was only the beginning. The galaxy held greater threats, and Zephyra would need more than myths to survive them. Yet for the first time, the queen and her people had seen what a human could accomplish. Alex paused at a high platform overlooking the city. The lights glimmered below, the air vibrated faintly with the hum of energy systems, and the stars above stretched endlessly. He knew the challenges ahead would be greater, yet he felt ready. He had survived Zephyra's forest, faced creatures beyond imagination, and turned the tide of a city under attack. Somewhere in the shadows, unknown threats still lurked, but he would meet them as he always had, calm, focused, and fearless. Queen Lyra observed him from a distance, her thoughts racing. She had believed humans were fragile, unpredictable, and ultimately weak. Alex Harper had proven her wrong in ways she could not ignore. A warrior had arrived from a distant planet, and Zephyra would never see humanity the same way again. The array human warrior had arrived, and his legend was only beginning. Alex Harper moved through the halls of the palace, his senses alert to every sound and movement. The aftermath of the attack still lingered in the city, but for now, the palace was calm. Queen Lyra had called him to her chamber, a space even more grand than the throne room. Light reflected off crystalline walls, casting rainbow patterns across the floor, and the air vibrated faintly with energy. He knew this meeting was not just ceremonial. The queen wanted to understand him, to see what made humans different, to see why he had survived where others had failed. As he entered, he noticed that several of the queen's advisors were present, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Some whispered quietly, casting glances at Alex. He had already proven himself in battle, but here, in a room full of thinkers and strategists, the challenge was different. He had to show that humans were not only strong and brave, but also intelligent and adaptable. Queen Lyra's gaze fixed on him. "You have survived the impossible," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "Yet surviving is not enough. I want to understand. Why do humans fight this way? How do you think? And how do you survive challenges we consider deadly?" Alex took a moment, considering his words carefully. Words mattered here, Actions had proven his strength, but understanding would prove his value. Humans survive because we adapt, he said finally. We face danger every day on our planet. Earth is harsh, unpredictable, and sometimes deadly. We learn to think fast, to plan, and to use whatever is around us. Strength is part of it, but knowledge, timing, and courage are just as important. His words were simple, but he could see their effect. The advisors leaned forward, intrigued, and even some guards exchanged surprised glances. Queen Lyra nodded slowly, absorbing his explanation. She gestured toward a large table displaying holographic maps of the city and surrounding lands. Your methods are different from ours, she said. We rely on rules, formations, and strict orders. Humans seem to thrive on improvisation and risk. Can this be taught? Alex studied the maps, noticing weak points in the city defenses that the rogue faction might exploit if they returned. Yes, he said. You can teach soldiers to adapt, to think for themselves, to respond to changing situations. It takes practice, but it works. The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. I will allow you to train a small group of our soldiers. If your methods succeed, it may change how Zephyra fights forever, but failure will be costly. Alex nodded without hesitation. He had trained soldiers on Earth, humans, and other species alike. Teaching alien soldiers would be a challenge, but it was one he was ready for. He understood that this was not just about combat, it was about trust and leadership. The first day of training was tense. Alex worked with a squad of elite Zephyra soldiers, showing them ways to move quickly, anticipate enemy attacks, and use their environment effectively. Some struggled to understand his logic, used to strict protocols and rigid strategies. Others caught on quickly, impressed by his explanations and demonstrations. Alex moved among them, correcting mistakes, encouraging effort, and demonstrating techniques through action. He led them through simulations of ambushes, showing how small groups could outmaneuver larger forces. At first, the soldiers were hesitant, cautious, unwilling to take risks. Alex encouraged them, demonstrating his confidence with clear, calm movements. Slowly, they began to follow his lead, improvising and adapting. By the end of the day, the soldiers had achieved results that even the Queen's senior commanders had doubted possible. They began to whisper among themselves about the human warrior who seemed to think differently, who could teach methods beyond their understanding. That night, Alex walked through the palace corridors alone, observing the city below. Fires from the previous attack still glowed faintly, and citizens moved cautiously through the streets. The air was tense, but there was hope. He knew that training alone would not be enough. He would need to demonstrate his methods in real battle again. Somewhere in the galaxy, threats waited, and Zephyra could not remain unprepared. Suddenly, movement in the shadows caught his attention. A figure slipped from the darkness, moving swiftly and silently. Alex reacted instinctively, catching the intruder before they could approach the training areas. It was a spy, a rogue faction operative who had infiltrated the palace during the chaos. Alex subdued them quickly, using techniques that minimized harm but ensured control. The spy's attempt showed that even now, enemies were testing Zephyra's defenses, looking for weakness. Alex handed the operative over to the Queen's guards, making a note to strengthen security in all areas. The next days were filled with rigorous training sessions, planning exercises, and strategic discussions. Alex noticed patterns in how the alien soldiers thought and adapted. Some were naturally clever, able to predict enemy moves. Others relied strictly on protocol and rules. Alex tailored his instruction, showing flexibility and teaching patience. He emphasized that mistakes were not failure. They were opportunities to learn. The soldiers began to respond, their confidence growing with each session. Queen Lyra observed the training closely, often from a distance. She was fascinated and cautious in equal measure. Alex's methods challenged the traditional strategies of Zephyra, methods that had been followed for generations. Yet she could not deny the results. Alien soldiers moved more fluidly, made decisions independently, and anticipated threats in ways she had not thought possible. She began to see that humans might offer more than strength. They offered ingenuity, adaptability, and unpredictability that could become powerful tools. One evening, as the sun set over the alien city, Alex sat with a small group of soldiers, discussing tactics around a holographic map. The discussion was lively, filled with questions, challenges, and problem-solving. He encouraged their input, listening to ideas and offering guidance. The atmosphere was different from anything he had experienced on Earth or elsewhere. Collaboration, with beings so different yet capable of learning quickly. The soldiers laughed occasionally, sharing small jokes, and Alex felt a connection forming. Respect and trust were being built, not by orders but through shared effort and mutual challenge. During one simulation, Alex noticed subtle changes in the soldiers' behavior. They no longer hesitated when facing unexpected obstacles. They communicated silently, anticipating each other's actions. The queen, watching nearby, realized that the human warrior had done more than teach technique. He had transformed their mindset. Her initial skepticism began to fade, replaced by curiosity and cautious admiration. She began to consider the implications of humans joining their society, not as weak outsiders but as equals in courage and strategy. Despite the progress, challenges remained. Not all soldiers were quick to adapt. Some doubted Alex, some resisted change, and others tested boundaries. Alex handled each situation with patience, correcting errors without harshness, demonstrating the human quality of teaching through example. Slowly, resistance turned into cooperation, and cooperation into competence. The transformation was remarkable, and word of his success spread throughout the palace and city. Meanwhile, reports came in of rogue faction scouts attempting to regroup near Zephyr's borders. Alex reviewed intelligence and began planning preemptive strikes, teaching soldiers how to anticipate and respond to enemy tactics. He emphasized vigilance, flexibility, and quick thinking. The queen observed each session, impressed at how humans combined strategic thinking with instinctual bravery. She began to understand that Alex's value extended beyond physical ability. His presence could fundamentally change the way Zephyr approached threats. One night, after a long day of training, Alex stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The stars reflected in the crystal towers below, and the hum of the city's energy systems created a sense of calm. Yet he knew danger was never far away. He had faced it before on Earth, and now he faced it here in a world that was beautiful, alien, and full of unknown threats. Somewhere in the shadows, enemies were watching, waiting for opportunity. But Alex was ready. The soldiers he trained, the tactics he taught, and the trust he had earned would stand as the first line of defense. Queen Lyra approached him quietly, her presence commanding attention even without words. "You have done more than I expected," she said softly. "You have changed how my soldiers think and act. Perhaps humans are more capable than we believed." Alex nodded, respecting her words but knowing that words alone were not enough. Actions, preparation, and courage would continue to prove his value. As the night deepened, Alex reflected on the days of training, strategy, and battle. He had faced impossible creatures, survived deadly forests, and turned the tide of a city under attack. Now he was transforming an alien army, teaching them to think and adapt in ways they never had before. The human warrior had arrived on Zephyr not just as a soldier, but as a teacher, a leader, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve. The city slept under a fragile calm, but Alex knew the rogue faction would not remain idle. Their threat had not ended, and greater challenges awaited. Yet he felt ready. He had survived, adapted, and led before. He would do it again. Somewhere in the galaxy, legends whispered of the human warrior, and those whispers were no longer myth. They were reality, and Zephyr was beginning to see the truth. Alex Harper stood at the edge of Zephyr's main plaza, his eyes scanning the horizon. The rogue faction had returned, larger and more organized than before. Ships hovered above the city, energy weapons charging, and troops gathered at the gates. The citizens watched from behind barricades, fear etched into their faces. Alex did not flinch. He had faced overwhelming odds before, and this was no different. He had trained the soldiers of Zephyra, taught them to think, adapt, and fight as one. Now it was time to see if his lessons would hold. Queen Lyra stood beside him, her expression calm but tense. She had observed Alex in battle before, but this attack was larger than anything Zephyra had faced. "Are you certain this will work?" she asked quietly. Alex nodded. "They'll follow strategy and instincts we practiced. I won't guarantee every life, but we can hold the city." His words were simple, but his tone carried confidence. The queen studied him, realizing that his calm presence inspired even the most nervous soldiers. The rogue ships descended, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts. The city's defense systems engaged, sending beams and shields to counter the attack. Alex moved quickly, signaling squads of soldiers. He had divided them into units, each with a specific task, some to defend civilians, some to flank enemy troops, and others to target key positions. He had taught them to think independently within the framework of a plan. Now their training would be tested under real fire. The first wave of enemy troops entered the plaza. They were fast and brutal, striking without hesitation. Alex met them, head-on, moving with a combination of agility and precision. He dodged energy blasts, rolled under swinging weapons, and countered with strikes that disabled attackers quickly. Around him, alien soldiers moved with newfound confidence, executing maneuvers Alex had drilled into them. It was a coordinated dance of chaos and strategy, and for a moment the tide seemed to favor Zephyra. A massive alien beast charged from the city outskirts, its roar shaking the plaza. Alex leaped aside, drawing the creature toward a trap he had prepared with the soldiers. They lured it into a containment field, activating energy nets that immobilized the beast. The citizens watched in awe, whispering among themselves about the human warrior who could turn even a monster against itself. Alex did not pause to observe. There were more threats, more soldiers, and more decisions to make. Hesitation now could cost countless lives. From above, rogue ships attempted to target key buildings, but Alex had anticipated this. He had positioned anti-air squads and coordinated countermeasures. Energy beams intercepted the attacks and several ships were disabled. The rogue leaders realized that Zephyra's defenses were stronger and more adaptive than expected. The human warrior had not just taught soldiers to fight, he had taught them to anticipate, to react, and to survive. In the chaos, Alex spotted a small squad attempting to flank the palace. He sprinted toward them, signaling nearby units to follow. Using cover, timing, and precision, he led a counterattack that overwhelmed the enemy squad. His movements were almost superhuman in speed and accuracy, and the soldiers around him mirrored his confidence. Each engagement reinforced their belief in the tactics Alex had taught them. The whispers of the human warrior spread through the battlefield, inspiring both soldiers and citizens. A rogue commander, massive and armored, appeared near the center of the plaza. Its weapon discharged energy that shattered nearby ground and sent soldiers flying. Alex moved forward, leading a group of trained soldiers to confront the threat. The fight was brutal. Energy clashed against shields, weapons met with brute force, and the ground trembled with every strike. Alex anticipated the commander's moves, guiding his soldiers with precise signals, exploiting weaknesses, and using the environment to gain the upper hand. As the battle raged, Queen Lyra observed from a distance. She had underestimated humans before, but now she saw clearly. Alex Harper was more than a warrior. He was a strategist, a teacher, and a force that could inspire an entire army. Her respect for him grew, tempered by the realization that this human could alter the balance of power on Zephyra forever. She knew that victory here would be remembered not only as a military success, but as proof of human capability. Hours passed in relentless combat. The plaza was a battlefield of chaos, fire, and strategy. Rogue forces pressed hard, but Zephyra's soldiers, guided by Alex, adapted to every threat. They moved fluidly, communicated silently, and executed maneuvers with precision. Alex himself was everywhere at once, striking where needed, defending where necessary, and ensuring that morale remained high. His presence was a beacon of confidence in the midst of devastation. Suddenly, a group of rogue troops attempted to breach the palace itself. Alex led a small strike team to intercept them. The fight inside the palace was intense. Broken crystals littered the floor and energy beams tore through walls. Alex moved swiftly, using both combat skill and tactical insight to disable the intruders. Each strike was calculated, each move deliberate. The soldiers with him had learned to anticipate his intentions, creating a seamless coordination that overwhelmed the enemy. In the midst of this, Alex realized that the rogue leaders were targeting the palace's energy core. If destroyed, the city would lose its defenses and countless lives would be lost. He sprinted toward the core, leading his team against heavily armored attackers. Energy blasts rained down and the ground shook with impact, but Alex remained focused. He used debris as cover, guided his team through alternative paths, and struck with precision. The rogue leaders were powerful, but Alex's combination of strategy and skill gave him the advantage. Finally, he reached the energy core room. The rogue commander attempted a final strike to destroy it. Alex anticipated the move, sidestepped, and countered with a precise strike that disabled the attacker. The energy core remained intact. The rogue forces began to retreat, their morale broken by the unexpected resistance and the human warrior's presence. Zephyra's soldiers cheered, the battle won not only by strength but by ingenuity, leadership, and adaptability. The plaza was scarred from the fight, but the city had survived. Citizens emerged from hiding, witnessing the human warrior standing amid the chaos, his armor scratched and scorched, but his posture unbroken. They whispered of courage, skill, and heroism, and the legend of Alex Harper grew. Queen Lyra approached him, her expression a mixture of awe and respect. "You have done what we thought impossible," she said. "You have saved this city and proven that humans are not to be underestimated." Alex nodded, tired but alert, aware that victory now brought not only relief, but responsibility. In the following days, Alex worked to repair the city's defenses, train more soldiers, and ensure that Zephyra could withstand future threats. He had proven that humans could survive and lead, that their combination of adaptability, courage, and intelligence could change the course of a civilization. The Queen and her people began to see humanity differently, not as weak outsiders, but as formidable allies capable of feats beyond their imagination. As he walked through the recovering city, Alex reflected on the battles fought and the lives saved. The rogue faction had been defeated, but threats remained in the galaxy. He knew that this victory was only the beginning. Somewhere beyond the stars, greater challenges waited, but he was ready. Humans had arrived in Zephyra, and their presence would be felt in ways that no one could ignore. Queen Lyra watched him from a high tower, realizing that Alex Harper had changed everything. The human warrior was not a myth. He was real, and he had proven that courage, skill, and intelligence could overcome any obstacle. Zephyra had survived, but more importantly, they had learned that humans were capable of extraordinary things. The legend of the human warrior had arrived, and the galaxy would never forget it. The city of Zephyra was quiet now, the echoes of battle fading into the hum of rebuilding efforts. Streets that had been torn by energy blasts were slowly cleared, and citizens returned to their homes cautiously, still in awe of what had happened. Alex Harper walked through the city, observing the progress. His presence alone inspired confidence. Soldiers who had fought under his guidance moved with precision, communicating silently, checking on citizens, and ensuring that safety was restored. The human warrior had changed not only the battlefield but the minds of those he led. Queen Lyra watched from her tower, her mind replaying the events of the past days. She had witnessed a human face impossible odds and survive, teach, and lead, in ways that defied Zephyra's traditions. Her advisors whispered that humans were reckless, unpredictable, and dangerous, yet Alex had shown qualities they had never seen before. Courage, intelligence, strategy, and the ability to inspire loyalty. These were traits the Queen now saw clearly. She knew that her perception of humans had been incomplete, and it was time to acknowledge the truth. Alex returned to the palace to meet with the Queen. The corridors were quiet, the soft glow of crystal walls reflecting off the polished floors. As he entered the chamber, Lyra's eyes fixed on him, calm but searching. She gestured to a large window overlooking the city, where repairs were underway and citizens watched the rebuilding with hopeful expressions. "You have done what we could not even imagine," she said. "You have protected this city, trained our soldiers, and changed the way we see humans. I underestimated your kind." Alex nodded. "I only do what needs to be done," he said, simply. "We adapt, we fight, we survive. That is what humans do." His words were plain, but the confidence behind them resonated. Queen Lyra studied him for a long moment, realizing that humans were not only capable of surviving extreme situations, but could also inspire and lead beings far different from themselves. She had heard stories of human warriors before, legends, that painted them as myths, but Alex Harper had proven that myths could become reality. Outside, the city's citizens continued to recover, and the energy of survival filled the streets. Soldiers moved in coordinated squads, implementing strategies Alex had taught them. Their confidence was evident. Even the youngest recruits moved with precision and courage. The rogue faction had been defeated, but the memory of their attack lingered, reminding everyone that danger could return at any time. Alex knew that preparation was key. It was not enough to win one battle. Zephyra needed to be ready for the future. The Queen asked Alex to demonstrate defensive strategies for the entire city. He gathered soldiers, showed formations, taught improvisation techniques, and explained how to anticipate enemy movements. His lessons were simple, clear, and effective. Soldiers who had doubted his methods now moved with confidence, executing maneuvers that once seemed impossible. Queen Lyra watched closely, noting the way Alex's leadership brought out the best in her people. She realized that humans had a unique combination of skill, courage, and insight that could not be replicated by tradition alone. During the demonstration, a small group of scouts reported movement near the city's outskirts. Alex did not hesitate. He led a strike team to investigate, moving with calm precision. The scouts had found remnants of the rogue faction attempting to regroup. Alex assessed the situation quickly, planning a non-lethal interception to prevent further conflict while ensuring the safety of his own forces. His decisions were deliberate, measured, and effective, showing that human tactics were not only about strength, but about intelligent, strategic action. The interception was successful. The rogue faction's remnants were captured without significant harm, and their plans were disrupted. Alex returned to the city with the prisoners, signaling the soldiers to secure them safely. The Queen observed this carefully, impressed not only by the results but by the method. Humans, she realized, valued both efficiency and precision, combining action with careful judgment. She began to understand that humans were more than warriors. They were thinkers, leaders, and protectors in ways Zephyra had never encountered before. In the following days, Alex worked closely with the Queen to strengthen the city's defenses and implement new strategies. He trained more soldiers, helped design new systems for rapid response, and shared insights that could be applied across Zephyra's territories. The citizens began to notice the difference. Soldiers were more confident, attacks were repelled faster, and the city felt safer. Alex's influence extended beyond combat. He had transformed the mindset of an entire civilization. Queen Lyra often spoke with Alex privately, seeking his perspective on future threats and strategies. She asked questions, challenged his assumptions, and observed his responses. His answers were always calm, logical, and insightful. He emphasized adaptability, courage, and anticipation. She realized that humans had a resilience she had not fully understood, an ability to face the unknown without hesitation, to lead with both mind and heart, and to inspire loyalty in others through example rather than command alone. One evening, the Queen summoned Alex to a private audience. The city was quiet, and the palace was serene. Lyra's expression was serious yet thoughtful. "Alex Harper," she said, "you have proven yourself in ways I could not have imagined. Your presence has changed this city, our soldiers, and even me. Humans are not what we believe them to be. You have shown courage, intelligence, and leadership that surpass what we thought possible." Alex listened quietly, recognizing the gravity of her words. "I only do what is necessary," he replied simply. "I fight, I teach, I protect. That is how humans survive." His humility and directness struck her. She realized that humans had strength not only in their bodies but in their choices, in their ability to think and adapt. It was this combination that made them formidable, unpredictable, and capable of incredible feats. She began to see a future in which humans and Zephyra could stand together, stronger than any threat alone. As the night deepened, a quiet celebration began in the city. Citizens gathered in the streets sharing food, music, and stories of survival. Soldiers trained in the city square, practicing maneuvers with precision and confidence. Alex walked among them, observing, guiding when necessary, and offering encouragement. His presence was calming yet inspiring, and the people began to whisper about the human warrior not as a myth, but as a symbol of hope, courage, and possibility. The Queen approached Alex once more. "You have changed more than our soldiers," she said softly. "You have changed our understanding of what is possible. Humans are not to be underestimated. You have proven that strength comes not only from power, but from mind, courage, and heart." Alex nodded, recognizing the truth in her words. He had come to Zephyra as an outsider, a warrior of legend, and now he had become a teacher, a leader, and a bridge between two worlds. In the weeks that followed, Alex continued to train and guide the city's defenses. The rogue faction had retreated, but the galaxy was full of unknown dangers. He knew that Zephyra would need preparation, vigilance, and courage to survive. Yet he also knew that he had made a difference. The human warrior had arrived and left an impact that could not be undone. Soldiers moved with confidence, citizens felt safer, and the Queen had seen the full measure of human capability. Alex reflected on everything he had experienced. From Earth to Zephyra, from forests and monsters to citywide battles, he had survived, adapted, and led. Humans were capable of extraordinary things, and Zephyra had witnessed it firsthand. He knew that legends often began with a single act, and his presence had created one that would be remembered for generations. As he stood on a high balcony overlooking the city, Alex watched the stars stretch across the sky. The city glimmered, below alive with energy, hope, and determination. He knew that threats would come again, that challenges would arise, and that the galaxy was vast and unpredictable. Yet he felt ready. He had faced the impossible before, and he would face it again. Humans had arrived, and their presence would be felt in ways the universe had never imagined. Queen Lyra joined him silently, observing the city. "Alex Harper," she said quietly, "you have shown us that humans are more than myths. You are real, and your courage, intelligence, and heart have changed everything. We will remember this, and we will never underestimate humanity again." Alex nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He had not only survived and led, but had changed perceptions, built trust, and inspired hope. The night grew deeper, but Zephyra was awake with possibility. The citizens repaired their homes, soldiers trained for the future, and the Queen contemplated the new understanding of humans. Alex Harper had proven that courage, skill, and intelligence could change the course of a civilization. He had become a symbol of hope, a bridge between worlds, and a legend that would never be forgotten. As the first light of dawn touched the crystalline spires, Alex looked toward the stars. Somewhere in the galaxy, unknown challenges waited, but he was ready. Humans had arrived, and their story was only beginning. Zephyra had seen the truth, and the universe would soon learn that when humans stood, they could face anything, survive anything, and inspire the impossible.